So I decided to start videoing this just a little bit late because just thought of it. We're going to put a winch bumper on a 96 Geo tracker. My cardboard aided design. And here's what that'll turn out to look like. Just rough measurements. And the dogs are just being themselves, I guess. Here's what it turns out. We'll see if we can end up with some bumper brackets. Got the plasma cutter ready, all hooked up. I'm gonna torch these out real quick. Yeah, they don't look the greatest, but they'll work for what I need. They're gonna be hidden anyhow. Hit them with a little bit of Harbor Freight stepper bit action. Gotta clean right up. Cleaned up, good to go. So I went ahead and just torched a couple slots in there to make it easy to bend, so I can bend the bracket over. And I just clamped it in the vise where I cut it, and with any kind of luck, I'm just pushing on this with my hand even. 90, and we'll weld this back up, and we've got our bracket. And this is what you're left with, ready to weld. And it fits on the vehicle. It'll go right like that. I'll have to drill a hole up here, catch that front bolt, and that's what the whole bumper will mount to. So I went ahead and did some more measuring. Had to trim some corners off. But my plan with this is I want to retain my factory bumper cover. So I'm going to try to just notch this until these fit up into place. And then we're going to get rid of the center section right here. It'll be replaced with C-channel or something heavy enough that around a 5,000 to 8,000 pound winch can mount to. I'm just using a grinder and a whiz wheel to cut these L's out of here. So here's the progress now. I got that cover off that factory bumper. I'm working on cutting this out around here so I can get inside here. Just stay with me. It'll turn out good at the end. This is on the inside. You want to make sure you definitely do that with your tools. I finally got smart and got the plasma torch back out. And I made easy work of this stuff. Shouldn't have put it away in the first place. So now these brackets fit in here and line up so I can bolt them into the factory spot with this bumper cover. And then I'm going to run my C-channel in between here. This will be notched out so that winch will just slightly sit recessed down under this and stick up above it. And when you're done messing around with the plasma torch, your cobbled up mess should look something like this for right now. Got a nice big area to work with. To give you an idea of what's going on here, that's the underside of the bumper cover, the factory bumper. This has all been hollowed out. There'll be a piece of probably flat bar reinforced with angle iron down on the bottom. The winch will be drilled and bolted up through, so the winch will actually sit in here. The only thing that you're going to see on the front will be the fair lead. It will be hidden. There's our pieces we cut that's going to be braced to the frame. I'm probably going to do something else off of it, off the flat bar or C-channel to come up and tie into it again here. So I drilled some holes and plug welded my brackets into place onto the factory brackets. So now I can get it fitted up and see what I need to run between here and how it's going to turn out. So I went ahead and tacked it while it was in there, and I got it out, and I got the bottom side, went ahead and welded it up. I'll turn it over and weld the top side and probably get a few more welds in here and a couple other places. So I had all these screws that held the bumper cover. They were stuck in the holes. Some of them I'd just cut the nuts off of, and I welded some 1/4x20s on them. And the top ones, I actually got those to screw out with a pair of vice grips. So I'll have to get the metric bolts put back in those. But it's coming along. I had to pick up some longer bolts because of the thickness of the plates I added. I just went to Tractor Supply. And I will be adding more bolts than this to it. This is just what came factory. I've got the bumper mounted back on there, and it looks stock, except for if you look down in here, there's the plate where the winch is going to mount. And if it sticks up any, it'll be very slightly up out of the top, and the fair lead should mount. The fair lead should mount right here where the license plate goes. Should turn out pretty good. So the winch that I've chosen for this is going to be the Badlands ZXR 5,000 pound. Considering the Geo weighs just slightly over 2,000 pounds. And it comes with a winch, plate for the fair lead, the cables, a nice rocker switch to run inside, the remote for doing external. So I got everything, I used this for a template. I got everything measured out and marked where the winch cable is going to come through. So after I got the holes drilled, I went ahead and cut this fair lead plate off and welded it to the front of my flat bar on both sides. So that ought to work pretty good. I'm pre-fitting the winch into the bumper on here, and I had to notch some clearance spots. That one for the cable. So I took the piece of styrofoam that's in there and I notched it for where that goes through. And the bumper cover. This here's from the back side. There's what the front kind of look like. Okay, everything's fitted up. Bumper cover's on. Winch is bolted in. I welded nuts on the back side of the fair lead mount. This way it's removable from the outside. And this is what it turned out like. You can just barely see some winch sticking up. I don't have the fair lead bolted on yet because I don't have the cable pulled out. But aside from that, it looks like a stock Geo. Back onto the winch build, the winch bumper build. We're going to start on wiring now. Not much to that though. Should be pretty simple. Straightforward. Mounting the solenoid was about as simple as could be, just 2 self-tappers right in there. So I've got the majority of this wired in. Ran up. I'll have to get some self-tappers. I didn't have any long enough. I'll just mount that to the firewall. Everything's clean and out of the way. So something I found on the winch hookup for the remotes, it came with this plug for the external remote and that one for the inside switch. It's got this big Y on it that goes down with the 3 wires at the end. Normally, you just drill your hole the size of this and run the wires through and bolt this tight. But on this one, this Y is bigger than that. So I don't know how that's supposed to work without cutting the wires. I don't know. Maybe I can squeeze this down or something. It's kind of a design flaw there, Badlands. What I've came up with, considering this dilemma with this, I'm just going to cut out a piece of sheet metal to go from those 2 screws out and just notch it so that this can slide into it. And if I need to use the external remote, I'll just pop the hood and hook it up. Simple enough. So this here's what I come up with. It's just a piece of sheet metal I had laying around. It'll cut out something. Just use a grinder and a cutoff wheel. And I got that cut out. There's what that'll look like. This way you can still access the AC charge and stuff. So to catch my ignition wire, to save running this clear inside the cab, I just found a switch positive wire that went to one of these relays, unclipped it, and I will add that wire in there with it and shove it back together. And this here is how the finished product of that remote hookup will go. Just clean and smooth. And there's where I ran the wire, switch positive, into that relay. So fortunately for me, since this is an automatic, all I did was pop this little plug out of where the clutch cable would come through and run the wire through there. And these trackers already have little spots ready to go for the switches. All you do is pop out the covers, just like on the new razors. And this here's how it ends up looking and performing. And that there's the finished product.